So, everything looks like it's working so far. Let me know if it's not. And I will adjust it how I can. And tell me if the audio is okay. I know I'll probably be a little bit quiet, so just let me know if I need to adjust any of that. Let me lock that and that. Okay, so today it'll just be, like I said, just me, a nice chill drawing stream. As you can tell from the title that I didn't update correctly when we started, I apologize. I am drawing a new Vtuber model. So, I recently updated the overlay for stream, as you guys are aware. And I've been thinking for a little while now that I wanted to try to experiment again with making VTuber models. So, I've told you guys before about how I made my current one. Hello. I spent about a week actively researching. I had spent some time beforehand researching how to do this, but I spent about a week of active research and almost studying, like cram studying, how to make my own VTuber model. I spent a lot of time basically writing myself a step-by-step how-to guide of how to make a VTuber model, because the program that I used to rig everything and make it so everything you see here can move and bounce and like go in all these different directions, turn my head, move when I'm talking, and raise the eyebrows and everything. All of that I made in Live 2D Cubism, which is a program for rigging VTuber models. But they only have a free trial of the professional version. Outside of that, it's much more simplified. There are much fewer options at your disposal. It's a lot harder to make a model, especially a complex one. So I made myself a step-by-step guide so that as soon as I activated the free trial, I would know exactly what I needed to do, where to find it, how to do everything, and I basically gave myself like a schedule. And I got this whole model rigged and completed in less than a week. The free trial was for about a month, but I only spent a week rigging this, and I'm very happy with it. It's a little bit janky sometimes, but it's nice and simple. It works. It hasn't completely failed on me yet. All it can do is raise its arm, which I'm still very happy with. The ability to raise my arm whenever I do. It's activated by my hand being there. And I like that it's in a cute little position and its arms kind of move whenever I move, that kind of thing. But I want to change things up. I've had this model for a few years now. So I don't want to go too off-brand. You guys can see the sketches that I've been working on for the past few days on screen. So it's still, my plan is still to have a rabbit as my VTuber model. There's something that's been bugging me for a little bit now. Hold on. Let me just actually I'll just keep that clean. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, I've been wanting something new, but I'm still going to stick with a rabbit because, like I said, I don't want to go too off model. I like having like a rabbit avatar. I think it's nice. I think it's cute. It can be a lot simpler than trying to rig like a human or like an anime character. Uh, and there's a lot more leeway with things not looking quite proportional because, you know, it's a rabbit. I don't know. It's not meant to look like a human. Um, so I do want to stick with that, but I want to change up the color palette. So I'm thinking of something a little bit more like, as you can see here, a kind of darker brown instead of white for the fur color. Um, a sort of slightly darker, more salmony pink for the blush and the ears instead of this, I mean, it's not too far off from the pink that I have now, but just something a little bit less saturated. Um, I want to do like a nice dark brown for the line art and the shading. Um, and as for the details, I want to have a lot more fur, as you can see here and here, and in these expressions, because in real life, I have a mohawk, and I kind of want to show that off, because I've had a mohawk for a while, I really like it, and I want to kind of show that a little bit in my avatar, instead of having this little like tuft at the front, which is closer to what I had when I first made my bunny boy. Um, but in general, I also want to keep the proportions pretty similar, as you can see here, with the chunky legs, smaller shoulders, very wide arms. And I still like the disconnected ears, as you can see there. So a lot of the elements will stay the same. The biggest change I think I'm going to make is honestly just the face. So let me zoom in on these expressions here. Uh, these ones kind of show it. They're a little bit more messy than the pencil ones, but let's see what the differences are going to be. I want to have chunkier eyebrows that are a bit more expressive than the ones I have currently. This one is just like a small line, and it's really hard. It's easy to like raise my eyebrows, but when I scrunch mine, it kind of looks a little bit weird. So I want to make something that's a bit like chunkier and more expressive, and probably have two eyebrows instead of just the one that I have on this avatar. Um, I like the simple eyes with the kind of worry lines on the outsides of them. I'll probably keep that pretty similar. The biggest change, except for the hair, obviously, will be the mouth. So the nose will be pretty similar, something like just like a straight line. But I want to give him little cheeks that the whiskers come out of, that are that kind of work like a cartoon mustache. It kind of looks like that here, like a little mustache. Um, but I wanted to like move around when I'm talking and when I'm smiling. Um, and the actual mouth will be pretty similar to what I currently have, where it's just like a cartoon V kind of thing. Like I currently have this. It's similar to that, a bit more rounded. Um, but as you can see in these drawings, I also want to add some more facial expressions. This one is cut off a little bit, but it's pretty simple. I think it was just this, just a regular, simple expression. Um, so the new expressions that I want to add, I currently have this one, and that's it. I want to have greater range of movement and accuracy when I'm talking by adding this talking mouth as well. Um, so I can kind of do that with my current avatar like this, where it kind of goes a little bit wider. It does that when I'm smiling also, but it's still just not super expressive and super dynamic. Um, and I also don't smile like open mouthed, so it's not shown here, but I mean, I guess it would be like this, like smiling with teeth. I want to add that. I don't know if I'll also do one where it's like a full, like all teeth smile, or if it'll just kind of look like that. We'll see. I also want to add like a frown that'll kind of just look like that. I don't really have a frown on my current avatar. It kind of just goes a little bit flat. And I want the ability to have him stick out his tongue. Um, when I do that currently, it just looks like it just it just thinks that I'm opening my mouth. But I want greater range of movement and greater flexibility with the facial expressions um, in this new avatar. So I have more flexibility, more realism. It kind of reads my face a little bit better. Um, and just to have like some cuter expressions that look a little bit more like an actual rabbit instead of whatever I've got going on here. Um, and I want to have like a nose bridge that kind of shows there, um, just to provide some more depth to the head instead of what I currently have, which is mostly just like a ball, like a kind of squished ball. He doesn't have like a snout or anything. It's pretty flat on his face. Um, Also for the mouth specifically, I I had a lot of issues rigging the mouth because how it works currently. I can try to show this up close. Um, I wonder if I can make this bigger. Yeah. So as you can see on the mouth and the eyes, currently I'm looking down, so it thinks that my eyes are closed, and as you can tell, Um, the eye kind of clips into the eyelid a little bit. It doesn't fully close. It doesn't really know how to read that with the way that I set it up. And for the mouth, there's a lot of clipping here because I had a lot of issues rigging this, like the curved mouth. It doesn't really, it doesn't work properly. The mouth part just gets like smaller, as you can see, and it like shrinks towards the middle instead of actually functioning how a mouth would. Um, so I definitely want to work on that more. Let me fix this and make sure it's how it was before. Can't remember how big I was on screen before. I don't think it cut off the ears. Let me. There we go. So, uh, yeah, the little like cheek pouches would help a lot with that, with covering up some of that clipping. I guess this is some behind the scenes for some of you guys if you're not sure how VTuber rigging works. Everything kind of like overlaps, and for pieces like the mouth or the eyes, you kind of just hide them behind other layers when you don't want to show them. Um, And that's the way that I did it. I'm sure other people know much cleaner ways of doing things, but I have heard that people have had difficulty with the kind of three-shaped mouth before, so I definitely took a risk when I was doing it. But you can't really tell from far away or when I'm very small on the screen, so I'm not too bothered by it, but I definitely want to do a better job of it this time around. Also, it gives a nicer place for the whiskers to come out from instead of just on the sides of the face. It'll hopefully provide some depth, and as you can kind of see on these facial expressions, like when he frowns, I'm gonna have the whiskers point downwards. When he smiles, they'll kind of point up and be more bouncy like that. And in more neutral expressions, it'll kind of just be somewhere in between. Um, but it'll have that like flexibility and add to the actual expressions of the face. And I think that'll be a lot more dynamic and a lot closer to what I was envisioning when I first started. Also, for the ears specifically, let's see if I have a nicer drawing. Ah. So for the ears, I definitely want them to be fluffier. On my current model, they're a lot smoother looking. They don't really have much fur. Um, but I definitely want to add some ear tufts at the very ends of them. And I also want to add a lot of fur at the base of the ears. I currently have some like disconnected little whiskery parts at the base of my ears on this model, as you can see. But I want to add something a little bit more detailed, a little bit more connected, something that looks a little bit more natural. And as much as I like mice, that's not really what I'm going for. I'm looking for more of a actual rabbit, so something a little bit less mousy than that. Um, Also, I didn't show them here, but I do want to add the earrings, obviously, and I want to make sure that they can sway and move when my head moves, um, but I just forgot to add them in the sketch. What else? Paws. So, currently, the paws look like this. The paw pads are very flat. They're very drawn on. They kind of just look like a pattern on the paws. Also, I know that. Hold on. Let me fact check something. Uh, where is this? Yes. Okay. So, I am aware that rabbits don't have actual paw pads like I've drawn on here or in my sketches. Um, but I do want to add them just to make it clear what the like where the hand is facing and to add some like depth to the hands. Um, I know that it's not realistic. I know that it's not accurate. My ears aren't connected to my head. Okay, it's not going to be extremely realistic, but I am aware, in case anyone was wondering. Anyway, yeah, so I want to make sure that the paw pads are a lot more 3D and they have more like shape and depth to them, as you can see there. Um, I also want to have a few different poses. So currently I just kind of have this one, where he's just holding his hand up, his thumb is kind of curled inwards. I'll probably keep that same pose. Um, But I also want one of him pointing off to the side and one of him drawing that I can kind of permanently switch to when I'm in drawing mode like I am on the screen. Um, and this is sideways. Whoops. Um, but a drawing of him holding a controller in both hands. I think I have another view of that also. Yes. So like as you can see here with him sitting and holding the controller in both hands, I want to have something like that. As for the full body pose, I still want to have him uh, like sitting on the ground, you know, like he is currently, but maybe less like scrunched into a ball like I have him now. He's cute and he can kind of move a little bit. The legs don't move a ton. Um, but I want to have him more like more comfortable where he's sitting. So I'll probably either have him with both paws, both feet like stretched out with one arm in between. Whoopsies. Or one leg out and one kind of like tucked under himself like that. I haven't decided which yet. Maybe I'll make both an option. We'll see. Um, but yeah, it'll still be like that. It'll still be facing the same sort of 3/4 direction like I have him now. Um, I just want to make some changes and make it a little bit more realistic, a little bit more detailed, and kind of just do a second, better go around than I have right now. Um, Also, another reason for that, like I said when I was talking about the new color palette that I want, I don't want it to be like white and pink anymore. I liked those colors before because they were very simple and it was easy to make everything feel cohesive because it was either white or pink. But I kind of want something a little bit more representative of me and my actual personality and I don't know, just something a little bit more natural feeling and a little bit scruffier too. I kind of show it in these expression drawings, but I want to give him cheek fluff as well as the mohawk, so he'll be a whole lot more fluffier all around, and I'm very excited. Um, what else? I think that's all of the ideas I have so far. Um, like I said earlier about live 2D cubism, if I wanted to do a very complicated model, I would have to pay for the pro version. I think I can pay about 70 a year, like for a year's worth subscription. But I think I can also just pay like 10 or 12 bucks for a month-long subscription. I'll probably end up doing that, because I don't think that it'll take me longer than a month to rig my next VTuber model. Like I said, this one took me less than a week to rig because I really took the time to like um, sit down and make myself a step-by-step guideline. Um, if I can find that guideline, I'm not sure where I have it. I know it's in a notebook somewhere. If I can find that, that'll definitely make things easier instead of having to rewrite that whole thing. But, yeah. I know that the first major step and the step that I took to make my current avatar is just to make some sketches of a lot of different like expressions that you want the VTuber model to have, um, various poses that you want him to have, kind of a regular full body drawing so you can see the details a bit more clearly, and some different hand poses if you want your model to like hold something or point at something or just have some more variety. Um, so yeah, I have all of the sketches that I feel like I will need. Um, the next step is to create the actual model that you'll be using to, rig and turn into your somewhat 3D movable model. Um, the way that I learned how to do it was to draw all of the separate parts and then draw them as different layers on the character and kind of build around a central layer. Um, as if you're making, like, say, a paper doll. So let me show you this drawing as a sort of example. So if I was going to use this drawing, which I'm not going to because I don't want him standing up, but this is just an example. If I was going to use this drawing as my base for the model, then the major pieces would be the head, the upper body, and the lower torso, the upper leg on both sides, and the lower legs, the upper arm on both sides, the forearm on both sides, and then the hands on both sides, as well as the ears. So these would be the major parts. They would be divided up into different sections, and just like a paper doll, they would have, let me use a different color, they would have joints that connect these different parts so that they can move naturally when you move and read everything properly, um, and make sure everything is smooth and dynamic. So on my character, what's a good way to show this? When I lean from left to right, you can see, if you look at my left arm, that's the arm that is currently touching my leg still. When I lean from left to right, you can see that the arm bends a little bit at the elbow. You can also see that when I lift my hand, this hand raises and lowers at the elbow. Also the shoulders move a little bit. They kind of scrunch in, mostly shown by the fur that are on the shoulders. The ears go from side to side. They can turn. They can go backwards. Things like that. So those are the points where they move like a paper doll connected by snaps or something. But when it moves, you see parts of the model that you don't see if it's just sitting still. There are parts that are visible and become invisible when it moves. So you have to draw the full part, not just this part where it's visible, but the full part that even goes behind other parts. So it can get very confusing very quickly because there are a lot of parts. For example, the neck is a big one. So I had to draw the full neck as if it was like a peg that the head was sitting on, because when I move, different parts of the neck become visible and invisible. So I had to draw the full thing in case it would become visible during rigging at any point, so that there's no like weird gaps or anything. The little tufts of hair on my head are also a good example. The smaller tuft is almost completely invisible when I look to the left, but is pretty visible when I look to the right. So I had to draw the full thing and then just move it around in various positions. Also, there are different types of pieces. of VTuber models. For example, all of these main body pieces function as body pieces. So they're all kind of just like sticks with stuff on them. You know, they've got the bones, and they move like they have bones. But it also has like the legs, flesh and fur and everything attached to them. But the ears are different, and so is the fur and hair and tail. So in this new model, I will have a lot more of it. In my current model, I mostly have fur on my elbows and shoulders, the chest fluff, the tail, and on my head. That fur moves and bounces a little bit when I move, as you can see, and as you can see even better when I look from side to side. Also, the ears waggle. Even when I stop moving my head, they still have a little bit of bounce to them. And the earrings are a completely different type of piece. For example, if you look at the topmost two earrings, when I tilt my head to the right, they're lying flat on the ears. But when I tilt my head to the left, you can see that they're kind of hanging off a little bit as if they had physics. They don't actually have physics, but that's a trick that you can do when rigging, so that when it looks to the side, it's hanging down, and then when it's lifted up, it's, you know, touching the ear a bit more. So there are a lot of different parts that you have to think about when you're drawing them. The ears and the whiskers, I also treated as if they were fur. So they have the same kind of physics that fur has. As you can see, when I move, the chest fluff bounces a little bit and warps at the tip. So do my ears. They're treated the same way. The whiskers are treated pretty much the same way as well. Those are all under the hair type, so they're flexible, they're bouncy, they can move even when other parts of the rig stop moving. So you have to think about when you're making your avatar, what parts will move how. I believe there is also a different type of object for clothing. I'm not sure if that falls under the hair type movement as well, or if that's a different toggle. I'm not sure. I obviously didn't have to worry about that because mine is completely nude. Um, so I just had to worry about body toggles and hair toggles pretty much. And that'll be pretty much the same for this new one. As you can see, it won't be that much different. I know that there are other people who draw just a full drawing like I have here, and then they cut up the different pieces. So if they have the whole leg here, or actually more like this, then they would cut up pieces of it and then fill in those pieces that they hadn't drawn beforehand. That's a lot more complicated in my opinion, and a lot more time consuming, because you essentially have to correct the entire piece. So when I drew this one, I drew it already disconnected, so it was a lot easier to keep track of. Also, line art, coloring, and shading are, from what I can remember of last time I did it, they are also on different layers, so that when you're moving the rig around, you have a lot more flexibility when it comes to how it moves and changes. So, for example, my character has blush, and that is underneath the liner of the face. So when I turn from side to side, it stays on top of the white of the face, but goes underneath and then behind the line art on the sides of the head. So that's something to keep in mind. Also, when I turn my head from side to side, the fluff on the top of my head, there's a lot more shading on it when I look to the left than when I look to the right, because you have to keep your light source in mind as well. So it's good to have a lot of those pieces have separate line art and shading, just so that you have more flexibility when things like that happen, so that it helps stay realistic and looks like there's an actual light source going towards your character. I'm gonna take a quick break. Everybody remember to drink water, take breaks when you need to, go for a walk. Alright. So, I'll be honest, I didn't have a lot planned for this stream because it's a solo stream at last minute's notice. But I suppose that I can just kind of start drawing. I'm not sure if I'm going to draw the actual finished model this stream or if it's just going to be another sketch like this, but we can see, we'll see what we can do. I'll probably just do another sketch that I sort of heavily reference for the finished model. So we'll move all of this over here, just kind of off to the side so it's out of the way, but I can still use it as a reference. Then over here, we can start drawing. Alright, I'm going to turn the music up a little bit now that I'm not talking as much. And we can get started. So I'm going to start with the head because that's probably both the easiest and the most complex part of the whole model. So I will be wanting him to look in the same kind of direction that my current character naturally looks. I think this is the natural head position of my avatar, and then as it starts to go in this direction it kind of distorts a little bit, and you can see it kind of like snaps into place a little bit, and then it distorts a little bit more when you look this way. So this kind of like a base expression that I used when I first made my model. And then I didn't really know what I was doing very much when I was moving all the pieces around for the different angles. So when you're drawing your VTuber model for the first time, it's a very good idea to also draw out references for what it'll look like when it's looking in different directions. For example, this is very odd looking, and so is this, because I didn't really know what I was doing when I made the different head angles. I kind of just started with this, kind of figured it out from left to right, and then completely gave up in any other direction pretty much. So it looks a little bit weird when I'm looking around and everything, just because I didn't really know what I was doing. So I'll try to keep that in mind when I'm making my next model, to do different references for different expressions, even if they're not actually used in the model, just so you know where to place the different facial features for your character. But for now, we'll have him looking in the same general direction as my current one. The eye line will be about midway up the head, and the nose will be very close to that. A little bit closer than I would normally do for like a human character. We'll make the general eye lines, and then the line for the... where should the bottom of the mouth be? The mouth will be pretty big, so a little bit closer to the bottom of the head. Then we'll erase this lightly. Then I kind of know, based on these lines, where to place things, like the snout will kind of go there. And then the nose will be nice and round and kind of positioned there. The bottom middle of it will be around here. And then this is where the sort of cheek pouches will go. The eyes will be around here. And I'll give him extra eye bags. This eye line is actually not correct. It'll be closer to around here, so we'll get rid of this one so we avoid confusion. And we'll place it around there. This line kind of helps mark where the eyebrow will go. And the other side. And he'll have a pretty cartoony shaped head. And it'll be something like this. Let's see how accurate that is to my other drawings. That looks pretty similar. Then we'll add the cheek fluff. I'll probably have like 2 layers of cheek fluff, just to keep things extra detailed and bouncy. And then I'll have similar hair fluff to how I have now, but I'll probably also have one piece that hangs down like here. And then I'll let it curve a little bit closer there so that we can show the mohawk. And then I'll kind of go behind the head, but it'll look somewhat like that. And maybe I'll have some little disconnected hair pieces. Like that. And it'll be connected to the head, something like this. And then the neck would be down here, obviously. And a similar little shading piece like I have on my current one. We'll just round some things out down here. It's pretty similar to how I have my sketches. I also think that I'm not really going to do eyelids, I don't think. I think that when he blinks, it'll kind of just be like these will be his eyes normally. And then when he blinks, it'll kind of just squish like that until it kind of forms a little line. I don't know if I'll be able to do that just by like deforming it instead of hiding it behind eyelids, but we'll see what I can do. Alright, so this is closer to what it'll look like. And then we should try to have different perspectives of where he can be looking based on this first model. Do a new layer just in case. So first I'll draw one of him looking to the side. I'll zoom in a little bit. So about midway will be the eye line, then pretty close will be the nose line, and then farther down here will be the mouth line. The first eye line will be somewhere right here, then the second one will be much closer, like right there. And then we can start filling in the pieces. But first we'll erase it lightly. And we'll make these transparent. And we're trying to keep things about the same proportions even when he's looking in the other direction, just so that things look consistent. And the eyes. I still haven't quite gotten the eye lines right, but it'll be okay. That'll be the first eyebrow, and the other one. I think it looks pretty close to that. And then the cheek fluff and everything. Something like that. Alright, and then we'll do another angle. Maybe this one will have him looking up. Then the nose line will be even closer. And so will the mouth line. And the eye lines will kind of be like that. A little bit closer. So first we'll draw the nose, nice and wide. Then the cheeks will take up a lot of the face, and they'll honestly probably cover the eyes. The nose bridge will be like that. And you'll kind of see the eyes a little bit poking out there. Then the eyebrows. And my current guy, his face just kind of slides around on his head. But when something looks up, you can actually see the neck. Something like that. I'm not the greatest at up angles, so it'll probably look a little bit weird. But it'll at least be progress. Then the hair won't be like as visible, but that one will be closer. And all of that. Alright. Then maybe a downward angle. And the mouth will be like down there. And the eyes. So again, we'll start with the nose. Nice and wide. The cheeks will kind of look like that, like sticking over the side of the head. The nose bridge will be a lot wider. Eyes will be down there. And then you won't really see a lot of that part of the head. And the cheek fluff will be pointed more downwards. Snout should be smaller, I think. Yeah, probably more like that. And these parts will be covering a lot more of the head. Like that. And then so on and so forth. And we'll probably draw some like tipped angles like that, like more 3/4 angles, but I'll do those later. And I would also probably have just like a straight on view. Because if my base model is at a 3/4 view, then it might be a little bit tricky to show in like from a straight on perspective, so I should make a reference for that as well. So yeah, it's a good idea to have different perspectives like that. Like I said, just so that you know what you're doing when you're positioning things when you're rigging, because when I made mine, I didn't really know what I was doing, and it looks a little bit weird. Like here, the eyes are way too high up on the head, and here, it just doesn't look down very much. It kind of just looks forward-ish. So yeah, I'll make sure that I have these references for those scenarios. I can probably make this better opacity. Let's do another sketch. Well, I've done a lot of these sketches. Maybe I can kind of just clean one up a bit as a digital drawing. I like this one. I also like the one where he's holding the controller, and that'll probably be the main pose that you see him in. I don't actually use a controller when I play games on stream. I just use mouse and keyboard. I prefer mouse and keyboard. But for the sake of clarity, I might just draw him holding a controller. So, let's take this and copy it. Zoom back out again. Paste it. And now we have a copy. Make it bigger. And there we go. So, first we'll lower the opacity and just start kind of doing a better under sketch for this drawing, because I didn't really do a good one when I was sketching these out. I kind of just threw something together so that I could put my idea onto paper. So this will be the rib cage. And the pelvis would be down here. The first thing I noticed is that I made the spine too long, because he's supposed to be sitting up like this, but as you can see, it kind of goes down farther than it should. It kind of just looks like if he was sitting like that, his spine would have to be like that. So I might stretch this out a little bit to make up for that, and then we'll continue the sketch. This will be his hip, his other hip, the knee, and it'll curve back around to the foot. And then same here. Another knee, and then it'll curve around to the foot. Shoulders will be out a little bit more. That forearm, or that upper arm, was too long, so it'll look a little bit more like this. like that. And we'll make this head a little bit bigger. And the ears. Alright. Now we have a nice base to work with. Pick a different color. And start sketching the details. I'm probably gonna always try to start at the nose just so I have a nice like center point to work from. The cheeks will stick out a little bit. I'm gonna have the mouth kind of go down over the chin a little bit just to have some exaggeration. Tongue will be there, and I'll probably give him some teeth in this one. Just some nice simple like rabbit teeth. The nose ridge will go over those cheeks. Give him an aggressive expression. And I'll probably have some eyebrow lines that kind of fade in whenever the eyebrows scrunch like that. I think that would be kind of cute. Give him some cheek fluff. And I probably won't really do blush on this one. If I do, it might just be really small, like up here. But I might not this time around. Nice big hair chunks. And this one that'll kind of cover a little bit. Then the mohawk. And maybe some bits that stick up like that. And then the ears, but we'll leave those for now. The neck will be somewhat like that. Nice simple shapes. I'll try to see if I can make the shoulders move. On mine, they don't really move a whole lot, but I can try to have something a little bit more dynamic where they can like go upwards like that. It might have to be like a separate pose like it is when I raise my hand. I'm not sure. But I'll do something similar to my current avatar where he has smaller upper arms and then much wider forearms. I really like that style. Then the thumb and the fingers behind it. I'm just keeping this simple for now. We'll definitely keep the elbow fluff. I feel like that looks pretty natural, but we'll probably add a little bit more. And a bit of shoulder fluff. The thumb. And the other fingers. And then we'll also do chest fluff like we have now. But it'll probably keep kind of trailing back there, but we won't really see it in this drawing. Make it a little bit more 3D. Then the leg will have more individual toes instead of like what we have now, which is somewhat disconnected, but mostly just one solid piece. Not quite sure how we'll do the leg yet, but it's alright. I think the head is much too big. That looks a bit better. Then the other foot. This foot's too small. Something like that. Alright. The ears will be pretty similar to what I have now. They might be a little bit smaller, just for clarity and detail. And I'll try to make sure that they can overlap with each other nicely as well. And I'll have my earrings. And I also want to give him, I completely forgot, a little nose ring. I might make these earrings a little bit more realistic than I have now, so they'll actually wrap around the ear like that. They'll be a little bit harder to rig in a realistic way, but that'll be alright. Then the main one ones. I'll make this one smaller. I like that. There we go. Take another water break. Alright. So yeah, this will be pretty close to what my model will look like. This leg is messing me up. Yeah, something like that. But yeah, I just want to make sure that I have some good sketches for when I actually start working on the finished model. I'm gonna merge these together and then move this large sketch so that I can see all of these together. There we are. Alright. So now I have all these sketches of what I hope to be my new avatar. And I'm very excited to start working on this. I'll make a note about this nose ring. So that I hopefully don't forget next time. And then maybe I can give him some like actual rings as well to wear. Just some more like accessories, that kind of thing. Again, just to match my own self a little bit better and my personality and everything. I think it'll feel nice to have an avatar that feels like it connects with me a little bit better. Don't get me wrong, I love Bunny Boy, but I definitely need something that fits a little bit better with who I am now. But yeah. So it'll probably be something like this. This will probably take me a little while to do because I've been pretty busy the past few days. I won't go into detail because it's something a little bit personal, but after next week I should be less busy. So I'll try to do my Wednesday solo streams that I said I would try to do. I know that I haven't really been able to do that, and I apologize for that. I still do want to try to do that. it just might take me a little bit. I know it's vacation, but there's a lot going on, but we'll get there, I promise. And this will probably take me less time than I think it will, because these kinds of things always do. Um, but I'm very excited to have a much more expressive and dynamic and detailed VTuber model to work with going forward. And I'll probably make some more progress streams or videos, things like that, so that you guys know what kind of progress I'm making, how far along it's going, when I'll end up switching to the new avatar, things like that. Uh, but yeah, I started this stream a little bit early, so I don't really know what to do now because for the rest of the actual model creation and things like that, I'll probably have to do off stream because I'll be watching a lot of tutorial videos and I need to find that step-by-step checklist that I made for myself the first time I did this so that I have that basis to work with. Again, sorry that it was just a solo stream, but Sun was unavailable. I'm hoping that she'll be back next week. I know I don't think we streamed last week because we were both very busy, but promise that it should be a somewhat regular schedule, especially if I start doing solo streams again on Wednesdays. Um, so we'll see what happens. But yeah, and as for the new VTuber model, I'll update you guys with that progress, and I'll be trying to work on that. I'll probably keep working on that tomorrow. So yeah, we stream almost every Saturday from 7 to 9 p.m. Central. All of my VODs are posted to my YouTube channel, which is linked in my bio. So if you missed a stream or if you want to see previous ones, you can see them all there. You can also see my speed paints there. I haven't posted one in a while, but I do hope to very soon. Maybe I can do that for my VTuber model. Maybe I can record it while I'm drawing it and then post the speed paint to that. Let me know if you guys would like to see that sort of thing. You can also join my Discord server. It's rather small at the moment, but we are very happy to have you and have a sort of community there. You can see me on Blue Sky. I don't really post much there, but I do post very regularly on Tumblr. You can also find me on Pinterest. I don't know, I sometimes post stuff on there. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.